ChatGPT is a joke. LLM models like ChatGPT are being touted as the solution to all the world's problems, when they're, as of now, just making them all worse. If people are lonely, they can talk to a chatbot that doesn't remember what you said to it 2 messages ago. Or if you want to look something up now because Google sucks, you can use an LLM. It'll give you a really nice table of information with a bunch of things that are wrong. And then everyone just seems to forget this fact when they use these bots. Even Gemini Deep Research, the best LLM I've used for research, is not that great. It will quote things incorrectly from articles it sources to you. It can't even read an article correctly, which is concerning because people are using this kind of thing for this exact purpose and they're not really checking a lot of this stuff. Even professional researchers are resorting to using LLMs like ChatGPT to make their research papers, which is bad because AI can't think. It's not smart. It's stupid. It will make mistakes. For example, an LLM misquoted a paper from 1959 and made up a new term that doesn't exist called vegetative electron microscopy. That's not a real thing. The actual term was electron microscopy of vegetative structure, and I don't really know what that means. The point is, it copied it wrong. But since tons of researchers are using LLMs to write their papers, this term has ended up in over 24 new research papers, which is concerning because the way peer review research works is you operate under the assumption that a peer reviewed the previous research. And by peer, they mean other researcher, not ChatGPT. So there is currently more likely than not tons of research papers that exist that are written by a ChatGPT-like bot that just has tons of wrong stuff in it. And no one knows exactly which paper was written by a person and which paper was written by ChatGPT. And if researchers start using ChatGPT written papers in research, that is going to be a problem. ChatGPT and similar consumer-grade bots are also not good for medical advice. It's kind of like WebMD on steroids in terms of diagnosing the extreme. That's probably because it was trained off Reddit comments. Regardless, if you need to see a doctor, you should check out today's sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a great way to get the care you need. You have access to thousands of healthcare providers, and if you don't have insurance, you can filter for doctors that will take you without insurance. And if you do have insurance, you can also filter for doctors that do take your insurance. And that is a great way to make sure you don't end up with a huge out-of-network bill. ZocDoc also lets you filter by specific specialists. So if you have a specific problem, you can just find the doctor for that specific problem. You just find the doctor that fits your needs, and after a few clicks, you're booked. And ZocDoc appointments usually happen within 24 to 72 hours, and sometimes even the same day, which is great if you procrastinate like I do. Personally, I use ZocDoc to find a doctor for my untreated asthma that I didn't know about for like 20 years. After constantly not being able to breathe after exercising, I figured I should probably just get a doctor and get it checked out. I was initially pretty hesitant because it seemed like a huge pain to find a doctor, and I still didn't know if I had a real condition or not. The last thing I needed was a doctor that was dismissive, because at the time I was more overweight than I am now. So I'm glad I used ZocDoc because it really narrowed down my choice in picking a doctor. I've had to find doctors before without using ZocDoc, and it's honestly just a huge pain in comparison. There was barely any information on the doctors I found, and there was barely any reviews from patients of those doctors. But with ZocDoc, I had a great experience finding my doctor, and there were plenty of patient reviews that are verified so I could check to see if the doctor was actually good. But he diagnosed the problem after one conversation and prescribed me an inhaler, and it worked. So yeah, that was really good. So take care of you today and make your health a priority. Go to ZocDoc.com/spatnz, also linked down below, to instantly book and find a doctor today. Thanks again to ZocDoc for sponsoring the video, and let's get back into it. So AI in the medical field right now is kind of a hot topic because there are tons of articles about AI diagnosing people faster than doctors ever could. And those articles are definitely real. AI is useful outside of things like ChatGPT. Honestly, my biggest gripe with AI are just tools like ChatGPT. AI has been used by a lot of industries before ChatGPT existed. We just called it machine learning or algorithms. When AI is used in a way that makes sense, it's actually an extremely useful tool. If you design an AI model trained off of millions of images of, like cancer, for example, like diagnosed cancer, it will be able to look at new scans of people with that same cancer and diagnose it way faster. That's just a fact. But asking ChatGPT medical questions is about as useful as asking Reddit, and they don't know what they're talking about at all. ChatGPT will just tell you what it thinks you want to hear because that's the way it was designed. This goes for anything that this AI says, by the way. It'll tell you facts and data that are entirely made up and fabricated. And this seems to be something everyone kinda knows, but at the same time, I see people posting rebuttals on Twitter and Reddit using ChatGPT screenshots. If we all seem to collectively agree that this thing is a pathological liar, I don't know why we're using it like that. I understand that Google is basically useless now. Okay, it's really hard to use now, but we shouldn't replace it with something that's wrong 52% of the time. This study found that ChatGPT gave the wrong information for programming questions 52% of the time. And programming is one of the things these bots are supposed to be useful for. Now, there isn't much information on like total accuracy because it's honestly really hard to gauge. They're meant to be general models answering like any kind of question, and you can't like ask it every question in the world, right? That's a really hard thing to do. But for another example, the BBC in the UK had a study where news-related topics were repeated wrong about half the time. And this was for all the AI models. All of them got it wrong about half the time. And the news is one of the last places you want to coin flip your information being accurate or not. And I've also experienced this myself with Gemini Deep Research. I wanted to test and see how it did. So I asked it to find information about Tesla that I already did research for. And it did a great job at building an overall timeline and had some good articles linked, but Gemini kept quoting the source material wrong. Like, it linked me the source with the source text, but the text it quoted from the article was just not accurate, which is like definitely concerning. It's pretty crazy to me that the way these bots are designed basically makes them copy pasting things impossible. You'd think it'd be really easy to like literally copy text from an article and paste it, but no, it can't do that. It has to reinterpret it. And this problem is like actually only getting worse. As of now, these AIs are hallucinating more and more with every new iteration. The newer models get better benchmarks than the previous models, but I don't really think that matters very much if it literally lies to you more. And the benchmarks are not a good comparison tool between these models anyways, because these benchmarks have been around for a while. And when companies know having a better score on these benchmarks means that your AI is better in the public's eye, they're going to design the models just to do good on benchmarks, which is probably at least partially why they're hallucinating more, because the goal of these models is not to be useful, even though they want you to think it is. Really, the goal of these models right now is to get investor funding. That's it. OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, all of them, Meta included, all these companies want you to think AI is useful, because in actuality, it's not very useful right now. That's why every single tech billionaire is talking about AGI being around the corner. They want to trick investors into thinking that AGI is like coming really soon, and if you don't invest now, you're gonna miss out. Like, seriously, anytime you see something like ex-Google engineer talks about AGI coming soon, look up their stock portfolio, because I am guaranteeing you it's like all in Google or OpenAI or something. Companies who also very publicly fire all their employees to replace with AI are also just trying to get investor funding, because it looks good to say you cut your costs down because there's no more employees. Even though every time I've seen a company announce this, they end up walking it back because the AI can't actually do the job. These bots are just not that useful yet. And that's not to say I don't think ChatGPT will never replace aspects of jobs. I'm sure it will. It can even replace entire roles at companies, which is an issue that should be addressed. But as of now, I just don't see that happening, and every time a company has thought that would happen, they end up rolling it back. And I think currently AI is actually a great tool if you're already a professional in that field that you're asking it questions about. Because if you're already a professional, you know when it's wrong. As long as you know enough about a subject to be able to tell when something is like obviously incorrect, it's a pretty good tool. But when you don't understand that it is lying to you, it talks with a level of confidence that makes you want to trust it. There was an update recently to ChatGPT 4.0 that was just telling people they're right all the time. Like, even if someone knew the information was wrong, ChatGPT 4.0 would just be like, yeah, you're so right. You're so smart. And this really isn't an exaggeration. It really just started gassing everyone up. And OpenAI did roll back this update because, yeah, it was bad. And also, a chatbot like this constantly reaffirming your ideas is probably a bad idea. I think it's a great way to get someone into psychosis, but that's pretty much it. But I don't want these tools to constantly affirm what I say to it. I just don't. If I'm talking to a chatbot like this, I want it to be smarter than me. That's the whole point. If they just tell me I'm right all the time and I'm never wrong, there's literally no point in using them. Also, programming the bots to be like emotionally manipulative is kind of worrying. Like, Zuckerberg openly has talked about the fact that he wants people to have AI friends, which is depressing and horrible. I really don't want to live in a world where everyone talks to some AI bot that like affirms everything they believe and think and say. It's kind of shocking me that there aren't more people adamantly against people befriending these kinds of chatbots, because it can't be healthy for someone to talk to an AI like this all the time. I also don't think it's a great therapist if you can avoid it, mainly because it could send you down some really wrong paths. Like, realistically, this thing could put some really bad ideas in your head or affirm some really bad ideas that a person would not. And you might think these AI chatbots aren't good enough to make people lose their minds, but I assure you, they definitely are. Almost every subreddit dedicated to AI is filled with people who are like borderline in psychosis. The amount of people who have asked something like, how do we know if AI is actually conscious or not, and they're referencing their own conversation with an AI is really concerning, especially since these specific kind of chatbots, LLMs, large language models, will probably never be conscious. I'm not saying that we can't eventually make an actual conscious AGI, artificial general intelligence thing, okay? That is definitely a possible thing in my mind, but I am saying that ChatGPT and Gemini and all these LLM models will not be that. These models are just prediction machines. That's it. They'll get really good at acting conscious, but they won't be conscious. And I'm sure it doesn't help that a lot of the language we use to describe these large language models is very human. Like, we call them being wrong a hallucination, even though it is like literally just a machine that got something wrong. It is a glitch. It is a bug. And I feel like these general purpose models like ChatGPT and Gemini and all of them are really just a problem. Like, they don't seem like they're solving very many problems for people. It just seems like they open the floodgates to, you know, all of society's issues at once. Like, I am sure all these models get used in like legitimate ways, right? But for the most part, ChatGPT seems really good at scamming people. That's something it's good at. Or if you want to astroturf a political message, ChatGPT can also do that and was used for that on Twitter. And I know it's been talked about a lot, but that Studio Ghibli filter craze thing felt really wrong. I don't really care about the people who are just using it for fun because it's gonna happen regardless. I can't get mad at that. But the White House tweets with the Ghibli art of deportations was dystopian. That was not okay. And that's just a glimpse into the potential future that ChatGPT will enable. Like, I'm sure medical advances in like really advanced technology will become really amazing because of AI, right? But that's not ChatGPT. That's like specific things that are made specifically for a specific task. That kind of stuff is really good. But when it comes to ChatGPT, it feels like its only purpose is lying to you half the time and being useful for bad actors. Like, I'm someone who likes technology and generally tries to embrace it as much as possible, but it really seems like these AIs like ChatGPT and Gemini and all of them are really doing more harm than good. Like, what happens to research in a couple years with all these researchers using LLMs to write their papers? The peer review system for scientific research will probably just implode, and we're gonna have an entire generation of kids that cheated their way through school, which is definitely not good. And I get why people are cheating their way through school. It is the path of least resistance. And honestly, the way schooling is done is bad. And it has been for a while. Like, the school system in America has been broken ever since Google became widespread. AI is only breaking the school system this hard currently because they refused to adapt when the internet became a thing. But still, I don't like the idea that like pretty much every student is using this to cheat. And if you're not, they feel like they're falling behind because that only makes sense. Like, if I was in school right now, I would not want to use AI, but I would feel the need to, because if I didn't, my classmates would get better grades than me for no reason other than they cheated. There's also a very high likelihood that passing off all complex thought to a bot will make people dumber, which we really don't need right now. And to be clear, I really don't know how to fix this problem besides, you know, making the bots better and not lie to people, but I don't think that can be done because we will never put ChatGPT or ChatGPT adjacent things back in the box. It's never gonna happen. Even if you shut down every single online service available, you can still download DeepSeek on your computer and run it on your computer. It's out of the bag. And also, ChatGPT is adding shopping, which currently does not have ads, but it definitely will. I guarantee you it will. And I just don't think it's a good idea to have a bot like this sell you stuff because it's probably too good at it. But AI as a whole definitely has potential because machine learning algorithms, which is what AI is, are like really good at specific tasks. That kind of stuff has a real use case. But ChatGPT and others just seem like they're gonna make society worse. That's all they seem like they're gonna do for now. I hope that changes, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Follow me in Blue Sky down below. I also have Discord if you want to check that out, and I moved. That's why things are like this. I'll set something else up later. But yeah, thank you for watching. Have a good one. Bye.